And we're back with episode 117, Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. Christian Brindle, Glenn Shelton, and it is Monday morning, June 9th, the time of recording this, officially under 2 weeks until kickoff of the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Summit.
That's right.
First off, I mean, I want to get into the weekend with you, good sir, but what is your thoughts on leading up into the summit? What is your thoughts being under 2 weeks away?
Man, oh man, I think we are going to have the biggest summit yet. Not just from...
I don't know if it's on my end or your end, but your mouth isn't matching your voice. Might be on my end. Let me try something.
I have an audio lag. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Guys, I've talked about this on the show before,
all right.
But hello, testing. 1, 2, 3. Is it my end?
Okay. Seems to be better now. Might have been on my end. All right, continue.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Guys, I've talked about this on the show before, but in Utah, they have an army of hamsters on wheels. And these hamsters power the internet, and sometimes they get tired. So sometimes Christian's internet doesn't always play nice. But thank you. We got some comments here. Good on my end. So I do think it's your internet, sir. Your hamsters are getting tired.
I would agree.
But
I would agree.
I think this is going to be the biggest and best summit yet. I think we'll have most likely the largest attendance we've ever had. I think that there's a lot of things over the years of doing it that has simplified or gotten better. Something as simple as the welcome party being in the hotel, I think, is going to have a positive impact. I think we'll have more people there. I'm excited for the podcast, that we're going to be doing live beforehand. So if you guys get there Sunday in the early afternoon, you can come and essentially be a guest or be a live viewer rather of the podcast, just like what we're doing right now today. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be great. And I love that we kind of get the final hoorah after event season. Everyone's kind of already gone, and this is the exclamation mark on the year, you guys, leading up to AEP. So I'm excited. How are you feeling, good sir?
I've really had a feeling this morning of like, oh wow,
dread?
Not next week.
Dread?
Not next week. It's the week after. Not dread, not dread, just an accumulation of things that I am like, oh, I need to take care of this, or we need to take care of this.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
A lot of that.
And, it's looking more and more like, every person that comes in contact with my wife, this weekend was her baby shower on Saturday. Any person that comes in contact with her, they're like, oh, look how low the baby is, like
you're like, stop.
It's gonna come any day now. I'm like, shut up.
You just have duct tape. You're like, we're taping the baby up. Okay, it's not low.
So I have a little bit of anxiety about that. I have zero anxiety about the event itself. I just have
right.
It's like I'm being punished by the Almighty. This could happen any other time. AEP, take your pick. I really don't care, but
yeah.
For it to happen during the summit is just cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah, that's a wild plot twist this year, to say the least. I feel like we have more planning and more experience going into this than ever. So I kind of agree. Like the actual event itself, I feel like it's going to go really well. But yeah, having a child on the way. I mean, Christian's essentially going to be on call, you guys. At any moment, the bat sign could go up into the sky, and Christian will have to disappear to go be a hero and deliver his son. I'm assuming you're doing the actual delivery. Is that correct?
Yes. See, we can't afford doctors here. So you have to watch a YouTube video and wing it. Just, same
Oh,
as
man.
like fixing your car or changing your oil or
Okay.
something like that. You watch a YouTube tutorial, it'll be like, okay, next step, cut the umbilical cord. Check.
That's what ChatGPT is for. Okay. Any questions? Just ask the AI.
act
We do
act as a professional baby deliverer that can walk me through you're prompting it.
professional. You're now an OBGYN who's delivered millions of babies. Tell me, tell me everything you know. Heather had a question here. I may have missed it, but where do I see the itinerary for the summit?
You would see it on the summit's website, same as where you buy tickets, same as where you book your room, everything. So it's sevenfiguremedicareagentsummit.com. You can also go. I don't think we have it at all on sevenfigure.com. I don't know why.
Should be on there.
But sevenfiguremedicareagentsummit.com, there's a tab that says schedule.
There you go.
That is where you would find the itinerary for each day, for all the days, all in one place. How was your weekend outside of that?
It was good. It was very hot. I was in Portland this weekend, so very, very hot. Lots of baseball for me this weekend. My son had his final tournament. And I'm entering this rare time period where we don't have any active kids sporting events going on, which is like, it's like the calm before the storm, because we almost always have some kids sporting events going on. But yeah, other than the temperature, it was a good weekend. I did want to ask you something. So we've got, your favorite topic here. We'll try to limit the time we spend on this, as we always do. Game 3 of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. Panthers Oilers. Panthers are trying to repeat. Series is tied 1-1. Thoughts? What do you think?
I have nothing to contribute to this conversation. I don't know anything about either team. I've never in my life watched even a second of hockey. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have anything. I don't have any contributions to add to this.
Oilers. Rooting for the Oilers. I don't want the Panthers to repeat. That's my quick NHL recap. What about the NBA? Did you see any game 2? I didn't see a minute of it because I was driving last night.
Yeah, I watched. I think from second quarter to almost the end of the fourth quarter, when I was like, "There's no way this game is going to be close," and I turned it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. SGA is really, really good. They showed a stat that said for the first 2 games of your first 2 games in the NBA Finals in your career, he has scored more points than any player in NBA history. I think it was like 81 in his first 2 games.
That's how much did he drop last night?
30 something.
Wow.
Maybe it wasn't 81. It might have been 70. I'm trying to remember.
Maybe 71. Yeah.
But I think it was 71 in number. The second place person was Iverson at 69.
Wow.
Something like that.
Crazy.
So I mean, he's terrific. He was hitting really tough shots last night. Guys in his face, fade away. It didn't matter.
So easy.
Didn't matter.
So easy.
But all in all, they played really well as a team. Chet played well, Williams played well, Hartenstein played well, Aaron Wiggins, brother of Andrew Wiggins, played well off the bench.
I thought I saw. I was so confused by that. I saw a clip of Wiggins, and I'm like, "That's not Wiggins." I'm like, "Who is this?" It's his brother.
Yeah.
Little brother?
Yeah, and he's a sniper, and he's been an important part of the team.
Sniper.
He's a good player. And defensively, they smothered Halliburton. They have like a handful of really, really good defensive guards. Like Lou Dort, he was like top 5 in defensive player of the year voting this year. He was, so he kind of took Halliburton out of the game the first 3 quarters. Caruso was awesome. Just really good overall team win. They were dominant as a team.
So before the final started, I texted Christian. I want to get his official take on what he thought would happen. His response was Thunder in 5. My response was Thunder in 6. Now,
might be 6.
Technically, both of these are possible still. Do you still feel good about 5? Do you think Thunder they churn up the engine and just cruise through these next 3 games? Is that a possibility?
I don't know. I feel more comfortable in 6 after
I'm loving my 6.
Home.
Yeah, I'm loving my 6. I want Pacers in 7, though. I think it's Thunder in 6. I want Pacers in 7. I want Pacers in 7. I want the Summit welcome party. I'm thinking we have like a projector. I'll put this up on the wall. We'll have it there. We'll watch Game 7. It'll be like the Super Bowl times 10. But we got to make it to 7 first before we can even root for the Pacers. So
I think the Pacers are really good. I just don't think there's any scenario they win this series. I would be it would be the biggest upset ever.
It would be. It would be a huge upset if that somehow happened.
But yeah, I mean, SGA's legit. Like he's the real deal. Like he was hitting just, biggest stage, NBA finals, these just tough shots,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I still think Jokic deserved the MVP. It's a regular season award.
100%.
But it always kind of rubs me a little wrong when someone gets the MVP and then they just suck in the playoffs.
But yeah.
Not to say Jokic sucked in the playoffs. He was very good, but like SGA's been really good these whole playoffs and he's playing really well in the finals. And so
who's the dude on the 76ers? I'm blanking on his name. Yeah, Embiid gets it, and then they get like bounced first round or whatever. Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, that always bothers me a little bit too. But it is separate, right? It is technically kind of two separate things.
Yeah. Before we get into main topic today, and that is Facebook ads, kind of amazing we haven't talked about this yet this year, really at all. There's a lot of changes that have taken effect this year in terms of Facebook ads, algorithms, everything like that. Agents struggling far and wide, showing me their ads, and they're in Kansas,
Please help.
No, not showing me in that regard. Like they're targeting me. They're looking for Kansas people turning 65, and they're showing it to me in Utah 32.
I have seen many. Many ads.
So yeah, I would say great topic that we have in store for you guys today. Hopefully we can share kind of some insight on kind of what we've seen this year. But yeah, okay. So in terms of sponsorship, though, I think we should quickly talk about that. Guys, this episode 117 of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by the 7 Figure Medicare Agent Summit. The event might be sold out. You might not be able to get a ticket unless you can buy one off of someone that's trying to resell, but you can still buy the recording. If you got this far and you're like, you know what? I done messed up. I made a mistake. And I know there's a lot of you out there that are feeling that way. You're like, oh, I went to this event earlier in the year. I went to that event earlier in the year. I missed the best event of the year. I screwed myself. There's something you can do about it. And I've been telling you all year that many of you would be in this camp. You're going to some of these other events. They didn't deliver what you were hoping for. Now the event that actually could deliver is here and it's sold out. You're like, what do I do? Or you only had a budget to go to those first events. Needless to say, there's something you can do. And that is pre-order the recording. Every year we have a professional camera crew and documentation crew to basically film the entire event, every speaker, every moment on the stage. And then we send it to all the attendees as a recording after the event, usually 3 to 6 weeks, somewhere in there after the event. You can pre-order it now, only $197. It goes up to $297 after the event has ended. So make sure that to pre-order the recording now. It is the next best thing to being there in person. So if you're watching this right now and you're like, man, I really screwed the pooch on this, honey, I messed up. You can do something about it by pre-ordering the recording.
Only $197 right now. If you head over to sevenfiguremedicareagentsummit.com, you can grab that recording. If we can sell 100 of these, Christian might be able to afford an OBGYN to deliver his baby. So that's what we're really hoping for. This is essentially a fundraiser for Christian to be able to buy or pay rather for the services of a doctor to deliver his baby. So he doesn't have to, right? Because right now we're
That
looking
would be
at
nice.
a home birth and ChatGPT. So, he's going to have his phone set up. He'll be talking to the AI and most likely delivering the baby himself at home. So please support Christian in this trying time, you guys.
It's not working. Let's try Grok.
Just like switching between platforms.
Comparing and contrasting.
Ask Gemini. Google knows how to do this.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's shift gears into the main topic today.
Yes.
Facebook ads, also known as meta ads. Both of us have spent a lot of years running ads for our various businesses on Facebook ads, meta ads. Let's start from the beginning. When is the earliest you remember running ads? Running paid ads on
that's
Facebook?
A great question. I would say probably 2016, 2017 would probably be the earliest. Yeah, 2016, 2017.
Okay. I think the first time I ran an ad was 2018. So you predate me in that regard. Back then, what do you feel like stood out in terms of
What do
what's
I
different
remember?
today
Yeah,
versus
great
back
question.
then?
Step into the time machine. This is a great place to start. I love this. So
Hot tub time machine.
yeah, so when I'm pretty sure it was 2017. The more I think about it, I think 2016 may have been a little early, but I want to say it was like early to mid 2017. We were trying to generate a Facebook lead, senior facing Facebook lead, and at the time, my gut feeling is that the senior population wasn't nearly as active on social media as they are today. So I mean, here, we're talking 8 years, 9 years ago, right? So I mean, this is quite some time ago. And I think there's a few different reasons for why things have changed so much. I think back then there wasn't as many smart devices out there in seniors' hands, tablets, smartphones versus now. I think you also have this senior population that's grown up more around technology, right? The further we get with these baby boomers who are retiring, an average turning 65 person today is pretty competent with technology. But 10, 15 years ago, I think that was more. It's been this kind of gradual change that seniors are becoming more competent with social media and technology. So that is like the key thing I remember is like trying to generate a senior facing lead, spending quite a bit of time, energy, and money on it, and feeling like I couldn't get the traction with the senior facing. I want to say we were generating a lead for like 30 or 40 bucks at the time. And the CPL, I just remember I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's no way I can take a $40 Facebook lead and make this make sense.
Yeah.
What do you remember from the early days?
So for me, when I first started kind of dabbling in it, 2018, give or take, one thing I remember is feeling like, because, especially running it for seniors to generate leads, for Medicare beneficiary leads, that type of thing as an agent, I remember feeling like there wasn't anybody on this, right? Like not senior facing, but like I think there was some, but I think you're 100% right. The amount of people now versus back then was vast. But nowadays, like there's a million and one people running ads targeting
More
people for
competition.
Medicare. I felt like there was hardly anyone doing it for Medicare back then.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
it just felt like a little bit of this blue ocean for anybody that's read Blue Ocean Strategy, right? It kind of felt like that a little bit. One of my biggest regrets was that I didn't basically, spend every dollar I had on it back in that at that time.
Yeah.
Because I spent a little bit of money in the scheme of things, nothing like what we're spending today. It was kind of very dabbling.
Right.
But comparing it to now, the targeting was so much different, right? The options in
Yeah.
terms of targeting,
Yeah.
you could target based on, obviously specific age, but you could target based on specific birth months. You could target, very niche. And it was a thing where you could run an ad that was very much within a, say, 25-mile radius of you, and you could have good results. Whereas nowadays, that's really hard to do in most areas. There's still maybe some areas that can work. But you could really, close it in. And I just think the options you had were just extremely different. It was very buggy at those
It
times,
was.
in my
It
opinion.
was.
Like there was, for a long time, if you put Medicare in your ads, in your ad copy, or is Medicare centric at all, it would flag, because at that time, Medicare for All was a big political hot button, and it would flag your ad as a political ad. And so you had to go through some special process to mark your account okay to run political ads. And I did go through those hoops. What I found was
I did not do this. I never did this.
what I found was if your ad got, let's say, declined from running, and it still isn't much better, but like one thing I noticed early on was it was very difficult to talk to a person, and when you did, they didn't necessarily know why your ad was flagged. And it was very touchy. It didn't take much
Yeah.
for your ad account to be banned. And just the littlest thing would set off your ads from being declined. Not to say that doesn't still happen, but I feel like the algorithm is a lot smarter these days than it used to be.
100%.
It would probably, in a faulty manner, flag your ads for dumb reasons. Not to
Right.
say that doesn't still happen, it does, but like it was almost impossible to get around back then. And so like there was a kind of a need to create multiple different ad accounts, multiple different business pages, because like even if you created a new ad, you could get to a point where your page wasn't necessarily banned or blacklisted, but it would just like be flagged, and they would keep a closer eye on your ads. Even if you did a completely different ad or you broke their rules, you'd find yourself having issues with it running. So it's very different. It's come a long way. I feel like, again, right? Like you could do the simplest thing. You could put out like a very simple video or something like that, very simple ad copy, and you could get extremely good CPLs, extremely. And when I started anyway in 2018, and not to say you can't do that today, but I didn't take as much. Nowadays, your ads have to be much more, I feel like, creative. You have to nail every aspect of it, right? And to me, in Facebook ads, there's four things you have to nail: your ad copy, the image of the video, your targeting, and where you're sending the traffic. You have to kind of nail all of those for the ad to work the way you want it to. Back then, you really didn't have to nail much of anything. Like you could kind of just trip into a successful ad, and one of those things could be good and everything else could be mediocre.
Do you think that's because less competition back then? The less
Yeah,
competition, so your ads stood out more?
I think the algorithm was way different. and way less competition for sure.
Yeah.
So it's changed a lot over the years. I just was thinking about that this morning, and I was like, how is it different today? And it's dramatically different. So thinking about this year, I posted not too long ago that we're probably spend 7-figure budget on ad spend this year in totality, right? Some of that is generating Medicare business, some of that is running ads to our other businesses. Um, but when you think about what's worked well for us this year, what jumps out to you?
So, we're talking about like the update in the Facebook algorithm. Um, and if there's one thing that I really trust more than anything, I think it's Zuckerberg figuring out this algorithm. I think there's a lot of AI baked into it now, but
Hmm.
the technology of being able to essentially take to be able to take what you're trying to do. And I think we maybe even touched on this in a previous episode. Recently Zuckerberg was being interviewed about their platform, and he was saying that he believes here in the near future they won't even need any sort of ad creatives from you. The future, according to Mark Zuckerberg, is Facebook will be able to just ask you, what are your goals, what are your business, what does your target look like, and it would just run and handle everything else behind the scenes. So like that's the future of how smart this platform's getting. So we're not quite there yet. So you're still in charge of creatives, right? You still have to get the copy down, get the videos, get the images in there. But I think one thing that we've done really well with our team this year on the Meta platform is testing new creatives and just the volume of creatives that we've implemented, because it's one of those things where you never really know what's going to pop off. It could be an image, it could be a faceless video, it could be a short video, it could be a longer video. Like, and I think any good marketer knows like you should A/B test, right? Like you should
Hmm.
be testing multiple things, multiple ad copies, multiple videos, multiple images, and then you know let the numbers speak for themselves. Whatever is working, whatever is winning, whatever is actually getting the most impressions, your cheapest cost per click, your cheapest cost per visit, depending on again what your goal is, or your cheapest to get an appointment scheduled, and then just funnel the money in after that. So that's one thing that I think we've done really well, though, is it's just the amount of creative that we've tested. I think
Yeah.
has been a big positive for us this year for sure.
I feel like something that's so different now is the need for multiple different creatives to A/B test. You not to say you couldn't do it back then, but I feel like today, like a lot of our campaigns will have 5 to 10 different ad sets, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
so we can kind of test it. Now, I feel like that only works if you're spending a big budget. Like if you're spending $20 a day, I don't think there's enough of a budget to spread out over that many creatives to really give it much of a chance to really know what's going to work and what's not. But like if you're spending $100 a day or $150 a day or $200 a day, um, I definitely think that's a really good strategy that I think is imperative now. Um, Facebook did in the recent years something that was known as dynamic creative. Basically, what that meant is you could put in there in one ad set, multiple different ad copies, multiple different images or videos, and Facebook's algorithm would mix and match and look for the best combination of those. And they're I don't know if they've done it yet, but they're doing away with that this year. They came out and announced that they're kind of replacing it with these multiple ad sets. And so we've really leaned into those multiple ad sets, and I feel like that's a really strong way, you know, for us to maximize a campaign. And then,
yeah,
by seeing which is our best performing ad set, we can kind of shift some of our budget into that, or, take down some of the ad sets that are just not working. Um, and it allows us to maximize the most effective campaign that we possibly can, around the ad. Um, Another thing too is and we haven't even really talked about it yet, but the special ads category. The special ads category is something that kind of towards the end of last
Big
year, early
change.
this year, they started implementing the special ads category. So for those of you that don't know what that means, previously, you were not required to select a category necessarily for insurance, Medicare,
Right.
anything like that. And they've done it in other industries in the past, but starting this year, you are for insurance, Medicare, that type of thing. And I heard so many conflicting opinions about this going into the year. I didn't quite know what to believe. So, what we did was we kind of just got involved ourselves and tested multiple different things to try to figure out what's real and what's not real with that.
Yeah.
And layman's terms, right? Why does this matter? Why does it matter if you're putting in a special ads category versus not? Well, marking your ad as a special ads category severely limits your ability to customize the targeting.
Yes.
In the past, you're able to, not doing a special ads category, you still can do this. You could target by age, right? You could do as small of a radius as, I believe, 5-mile radius. Special ads category, it's a minimum of 25-mile radius. But with special ads category, it basically forces you to do a minimum age of 18 and a maximum age of 65 plus. So you're really relying on Facebook's algorithm to take your ad copy and what you enter in for your ad and show it to the right person. Where in the past, you had a lot more control over who was seeing your ad. This is more Facebook being like, trust us. Trust us, little Billy.
Trust us.
Trust us, little Billy. We have your best interest at heart, little Billy. We will not show your ad to Christian Brindle in Utah.
So
a lot of times they do.
Yeah. So before the special ad category, I would say I rarely saw senior facing Medicare ads.
Right.
I've heard of people who will temporarily change their age on their profile so they can see what are seniors getting marketed to. So I guess that's a thing that you could have done before, and you could probably still do today, right? Go and change your age. All of a sudden Facebook thinks you're 65. You can see all the ads. Well, since the special ads category, I will tell you, I have seen an incredible amount of senior facing Medicare ads from agents. And I don't know if it's because Facebook knows that I'm an agent. Facebook knows that I'm, a part of this, and they don't really know exactly how I fit in from the special ads category standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it's problematic because, again, if you're the ones spending that ad money, the last thing you want to do is be spending money on a paid ad to put in front of someone that's not even in the demographic, right? Because if I'm seeing that, someone's paying for that ad space, essentially. There's a cost to that. So that's definitely problematic. And I would say across the board, from what I've heard from people, this is affecting everyone in that way.
Yeah, I mean,
this episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by the 7 Figure University. 7figureuniversity.com is a culmination of Christian Brindle's and mine's educational videos that we have developed over the past 2 decades of combined experience in the senior insurance space. There's more than 250 videos, hundreds of hours of content that can help you become a top producer or a top producing agency in the senior insurance space. We're talking about videos of how to work with specific carriers, how to do different types of marketing, such as seminars or Facebook advertising, how to generate content in the niche to help grow your business, how to grow an agency, all sorts of things. There's so much value in this. It's unbelievable. Christian, what do agents need to know about 7 Figure University?
7 Figure University can best be thought of as an agency blueprint in a box that's put together for you, that brings you step by step in every facet of building a successful 7-figure insurance agency, and lays it out all in front of you so you can follow along. Whether you guys need help with marketing, whether you guys need help with branding, whether you guys need help with hiring, training, standard operating procedures, systems and processes, automation, you name it, it's covered in this course. Not only that, you get access to my weekly training calls every Thursday that go from January through the end of September on a week-to-week basis. And you can attend those live and ask questions live. And then, of course, the recordings are put into the university afterward if you can't attend it and make the live training. So there's just so much value. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and it's a great investment into your business to kind of keep you up to date on what's going on, but also kind of point you in the right direction in various things that you're struggling with.
Some of the best training you'll be able to find, you guys, in one spot for one price. Go to sevenfigureuniversity.com and learn more.
Let's get back to the show. So I've heard when this kind of took place at the beginning of the year, I heard kind of some differing opinions. Heard some opinions that said your ads won't be able to run if you don't comply with this. And if you get enough ads rejected for needing a special ads category and not listing it, that your ad account could be in danger of being shut down, which for any of you that's ever had that happen, you don't want
Yes.
that.
No, you do not.
That's for a lot of people, it's a lifetime thing. It's
And
not
once
something
they
you
drop
can
the
come back from.
hatchet, yeah, they don't say a word about it. I've had to deal with it. I know exactly how that goes.
The other differing opinions of that were just ignore it, run your ads like always. They won't enforce the special ads category. What we've seen is they most certainly will enforce the special ads category. We've had a
Yes.
bunch of ads be declined from running. And how do they know it's supposed to be special ads category? Well, they're basing it off of how clearly your ad set and how clearly your ad copy is targeting people for insurance products, Medicare products, that type of thing. Now, the people that say don't do it, I've heard them say, "We'll just change your ad copy, make it not as clear." But doesn't that my argument to that is that, in my opinion, that'll make your ad less effective. If it's not as clear what you're advertising for and you're fooling the algorithm, will anyone know what your ad is for? Will your ad really perform? So what we found through our own kind of test and trials and tribulations were to try your best to just lean into it. Now, there's some things you can do, right? Like I see a bunch of ads now for agents in Utah running Medicare ads. The idea is the more that you run ads on Meta's platform, the smarter it becomes in terms of who you're looking for, right? Just over time.
Right.
So theoretically, right, let's say I'm looking for seniors in Utah, and because I can still specify it to a state, right? I'm not having to run it nationwide.
Yep.
I can still specify to a state. I can still specify, to counties and things like that. I think it's probably inevitable that temporarily that will happen. Hopefully it just continues to learn and it starts to isolate, the person that you're looking for. For the person that's in Kansas, for example, showing their ads to me, that is so fixable. And there's no reason for it. You're not doing any targeting, in my opinion, when you're doing that. You're not.
Let me ask you something, because this is something that I feel like from before is a change that we're seeing now. So one thing that I feel like used to happen is I could run a short-term ad and have a lot of success.
Yeah.
2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, I could run an ad for 3 to 7 days and it could go really well. Now, with the way the algorithm works now, I feel like I'm significantly more likely to win with a long-term ad. Multiple weeks. You got to give the algorithm time to learn what you're trying to offer and who the audience is, and then try to replicate that, especially if you're working with the pixel. Do you feel like that's been a big change too? Is that time difference in how long you should run an ad?
Yeah, I definitely do. Like how many, you and I, we look at our ads every week in a meeting. and
Yeah.
that we're running as a company
Yeah.
across the board. How many times have we looked at an ad that just barely went up in the past couple days and it's learning?
And there's like no views on it. It's like
Right.
brand new. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
it's learning, right? Like it's
Yeah.
too early to say
Right.
if there's anything that needs to be done. I feel like you got to let it. You hit it right in the head. I feel like you used to be able to run an ad for 3 to 5 days, and you could do that.
Yep.
Now I feel like you run an ad for 3 to 5 days. It's a very good possibility that it needs more time to let its legs
Yeah.
stretch.
Never even got off the ground essentially. if you only
Mhm.
run it for 3 to 5 days, because there wasn't enough data for the algorithm to really process your ad.
Now, some people will hear that and they'll be like, does that mean that I just keep my ad running forever? No, there's going to be a point where, your ad isn't working. You take it and you stop it running. We do that, you
True.
know.
But if it is working, wouldn't you rather reduce spend than turn it off though?
For
Right?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's a
feel
big
like
one.
I feel like one of the worst things you can do, and this has been the case for years, is turn an
Yeah.
ad on a campaign on or off.
Yeah.
Um, let's say I wanted to stop an ad and then I wanted to rerun it later. I believe you're better off recreating it and duplicating it and creating a brand new campaign than turning it back on. I just feel like I've always been under the impression that Facebook's algorithm and their ads campaign and their ads platform doesn't like that,
Yeah.
because you're starting and stopping and starting and stopping, and it just doesn't give the algorithm the ability to really have any consistency in its ability to learn. Good question in the comments, though. How long do you generally run an ad for? I feel like the answer to this is a little subjective because it
For
kind of
sure.
depends on what you're trying to do and what your budget is and that kind of thing. But I feel like for us, and tell me if you feel like this sounds right. I feel like to genuinely say an ad isn't going to work, I think you need at least 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. I would say at least 2 weeks. And then it comes into this other part of it too, though, is like how much are you going to spend on that ad set too?
Mhm.
Because if you're spending more per day, I think you're going to get more data. I think that algorithm can learn faster. But if you're trying to just spend, the minimal amount, $5, $10 a day, you're probably going to need more time to get more data, maybe 30 days. But yeah, I remember specifically, I had this ad, I think it was actually for my book that I was running on Facebook back in the day. And I remember it was crushing, fantastic ad. And we ended up turning it off for one reason or another. And then a few months go by. I'm like, man, we should have never turned that off. Let's turn it back on. Just literally flipped it back on. And it never performed the way it did before. And I just remember being so bummed that I ever stopped running that ad. So yeah, I mean, that's just if you're new to meta ads, you don't have a lot of experience. That's a big one, is if it's working, cut it down to the minimum. What is it? $5 a day is the minimum, I think. That's like the minimum spend. I mean, you're talking about $150 a month to keep a working ad still running in the background, and then you can scale the spend back up. Another thing that I think we've learned this year, at least for me personally, is slowly scaling your ads up.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something that I think I've struggled with before, where I'm just like, more, spend it all, spend the whole budget today.
Yeah.
Getting into the data behind it, it's very obvious that if you spend too much too quickly, you can just kill your stats. Your click-through can go down, your cost per thousand to view the ad can go way up. So that's another kind of tip that I think would be good if you're just now getting started.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really, really a great tip. Like there's something to be said about starting with a smaller budget, testing something, and then as you start to see results, slowly increasing the budget for it as you go. That seems to be a better approach than just starting off guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
and that also does protect you as the advertiser from dumping a bunch of money into an unproven ad campaign. that gives you the ability to really properly test something on a smaller budget. And that's something that we found to be really important with a lot of our campaigns.
Yeah.
Glenn, how important is retargeting?
I was just about to say that. That's crazy. Retargeting is huge to me. Same, we talked about cross-selling a million times on this show. If someone's already bought something from you, they're 5-6 times more likely to buy again from you. And if someone's already seen your ad and they haven't clicked yet, and you're retargeting them, you're showing them another ad, whether it's the same ad again or a slightly different ad, or, hey, we missed you last time, don't forget about our webinar coming up. Whatever it is, whatever the retargeting looks like, you're significantly more likely to get someone to actually pull the trigger, whether, again, that's submitting their info as a lead, setting an appointment with you, just clicking on that ad, goes up significantly, probably around the same approximation as if you're going to retarget someone that's in your audience, in your demographic, and they see your ad 5 or 6 times versus someone who only sees your ad once. It's a huge increase in the ability of that person seeing it, clicking it. So that's something that I'm always really, really big on anytime we're running any of our campaigns is, do we have retargeting set up? Is the pixel correctly installed on the page? Are we retargeting the traffic? We have our email list. Are we retargeting our email list? Because you can also do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, you're sending an email to someone, they're potentially seeing your ad on Meta. All of these things where the more omnipresent you can be, the higher likelihood it is that someone's going to buy from you or they're going to submit their information to you.
Yep. 100%. And I feel like the retargeting has always been important, but I do believe it was harder to do back in the day. I think it's easier now to do.
Agreed.
I think the whole pixel process was way more complicated and confusing. Pixel, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, we'll kind of break this down to an elementary level a little bit, right? So, if you've ever experienced this, and pretty much all of us have in one way or another, let's say you go to a website and you're looking at something. Let's say I'm looking at Gucci sunglasses or something. I would never. It's not in my DNA.
You would.
I started recently buying like Oakley sunglasses. They're like $100, $200, things like that. But like Gucci's, they're like thousands of dollars for a pair of sunglasses. I'm like, I just can't.
I would love to buy a nice pair of sunglasses. I'm too rough on I lose them. I break them. I'm too scared to buy $100 to invest $100 into a pair of sunnies.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. But anyway, let's say you're looking at some Gucci sunglasses. You go on the website.
Yes.
You're like you're browsing. You're like, oh, this is $5,000. That's out of my budget. Let's say you're not a high roller, and you get off, and you immediately go to Facebook on your phone, and your first thing you see is you're seeing ads being targeted to you for Gucci sunglasses. You're like, how did they know? Well, how they know is they have what's known as a pixel installed on their website that you were just on. A pixel is a code that they will go into into a Facebook Ads Manager or Meta Ads Manager platform that connects their Ads Manager to their website and allows them to basically capture your data, your IP address, when you go onto that website. And then they're able to run an ad specifically to the people that went to their website. Because if you went to their website, you have high intent, or you have some type of intent. And so they can add a very specific ad. They can target a very specific ad to you as somebody that has some sort of intent, pre-existing intent. And that's basically what we mean by retargeting.
I think it's important to note too, guys, like Christian was saying, you can actually have a separate ad set that's just for retargeting. So you can say something like, thanks for visiting our site. If you need help, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like whatever it is, there's so many different ways you can retarget someone with an ad. Or, hey, Don't forget about our webinar. If you're trying to get someone to sign up for a webinar on your page, they don't actually do it, and they're on Facebook or Instagram 2 days later, all of a sudden an ad pops up, and now there's the second time they've seen that. And again, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, all of a sudden they're a lot more likely to actually submit their info. Guys, Freebie Friday happens every single Friday right here in the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group. All you have to do is comment on one of our live streams during the week, and you automatically get entered into our giveaway. We've given away almost $100,000 worth of leads, services, educational services like the 7-Figure University. So do not miss out on our giveaway. Comment below. Great questions on the stream today. So here's another one. Would you separate the ads if you are having a Medicare cannot speak today, Medicare seminar multiple days? What would you say to that?
No, I would do one campaign. I'd call it Medicare Seminars, and I do 2 different ad sets within the same campaign. So if you have, let's say, 3 different days, I do one ad set for day 1, a separate ad set for day 2, and a third ad set for day 3, but all within the same campaign. So I wouldn't do multiple campaigns. I would separate them by ad set, but I wouldn't separate them by campaign.
And you could have separate retargeting as well.
Sure. Yeah.
For those to try to stay relevant. They might sign up for a seminar. They might grab onto an ad early on, and then all of a sudden the issue becomes getting those people to actually show up. So retargeting those people who've RSVP'd and giving them reminders, essentially.
Right.
That's another strategy.
Maybe
utilize.
And that'd be a 4th ad set, right? That doesn't need to be a separate campaign either. That could be a different ad set. So, and maybe your reminder is saying, hey, you RSVP'd for the Medicare 101 workshop that's free to you on this day at this time at this place. Yep. Don't forget to be there. We have you registered. Let us know if you have any questions.
Don't forget to be
and if you're working with a Go High Level, you can build in automations for those registrations as well, right? You're not going to have automations inside of the Meta Ads platform, but at this point, Go High Level and Facebook ads kind of go together like PB&J, and so you integrate your ads platform into Go High Level. When somebody registers for your seminar, you can build in an automation where that is a trigger, and it sends them reminders all the way up to it, right? So you can get really detailed with this.
Yeah.
And it can help you have better show rates, just help your business run a lot more efficiently.
I think the future of Facebook advertising, Meta advertising, because it's gotten so efficient at generating that lead, whatever it is that you're trying to get that person to do, it could be showing up for a seminar. It could be just submitting their information as an opt-in so you can contact them. It could be, a webinar, whatever it is you're trying to get them to do. I think what the future of being successful is exactly what you just talked about there, Christian, and plug the 7-Figure CRM if you guys are looking for a CRM system to help you do this. It's going to be maximizing the people who've opted into actual conversion. I think that's the future of where you're going to be spending your time and really trying to figure things out. Getting people to actually show up to these webinars and seminars, getting people to actually answer their phones, getting people to actually set appointments with you. And that's where retargeting ads, a CRM system, a virtual assistant, having systems in place to really help you maximize the effort of what Facebook's already doing for you. There's another piece of this too. This is probably like a good part 2 or a separate topic for another day, but I think there's organic content and how organic content can play into paid ads as well, because it can be kind of a 2-pronged strategy in a lot of ways.
A Kobe and Shaq, if you will.
Whoa, huge analogy. Huge analogy. But it really does. organic content, you can sometimes copy and paste. You can take stuff that you've put out organically that's worked well, and you can utilize that into a paid ad strategy. Stuff like that I think, again, more of a different topic for a different day, but that's another thing that some really, really, really successful people do. Here's one thing I'll mention too really fast that I just saw a video. Someone said they do is they will actually run, again, the overlap between organic and paid content here is a YouTuber who's trying to get as many clicks as possible on their thumbnail. They will take sample thumbnails and they will run like 10 different sample thumbnails as meta ads. And then whatever gets the highest click-through rate, they are taking that thumbnail and they're utilizing it for their organic YouTube thumbnail, because they're thinking, if the data shows on Facebook that this is what's going to get the most clicks, this will get me the most views on YouTube. I thought that was an interesting strategy. I just heard about.
That's very interesting. I like that.
It's kind of reverse. It's kind of like reverse engineering it.
Yeah. How far in advance should you run the ad? This is the last question we'll answer, then we'll move into final thoughts. But yeah, I mean, with special ads category now, you really can't target by birth month. It would, in my opinion, feel a little awkward if you put in, are you 65 in, August, in your ad copy. I think that would feel a little weird. So I would just target it in my ad copy, hey, are you turning 65 in the next year and feeling overwhelmed? Because I think good T65 marketing in general, especially for seminars, probably more for seminars than anything else, is you're going to get a slew of people in terms of how far out they are. You might get the people that are 1 or 2 months out that are the procrastinators. You might get people that are 9 to 12 months out. Remember, the seminar game is a pipeline game, and you win by doing them consistently every month and keeping the pipeline full. And you do that for a year, and then 3 months down the road, 4 months down the road, 5 months down the road, people from this month's seminar are going to be ready to go. And if you're doing it every month, eventually you're going to get to the point where every month people from the past are ready. Think about it like you're watering a garden and the garden's starting 100%. To sprout in a way. So I don't, there's really not a good way, in my opinion, to target specific birth months without getting super, in my opinion, in the weeds in your ad copy. I think you're better off just to target people as broadly that are turning 65, and you'll get in my opinion, what you want anyway, which is a large volume of people and, a huge variety of how far out from needing to make a decision.
Yeah, guys, we're getting towards the top of the hour here. Big topic. If you want a part 2 on paid ads, specifically meta ads, Facebook ads, or if you'd like to hear more about organic content, because again, I think there's kind of an overlap here of kind of goes back and forth between organic content, paid ads, and what's unique as well is, like I talked about before, I think the more time someone sees your content or your ad, and it could be maybe they see an organic post and they're seeing a paid ad, then they're getting retargeted, then they're getting an email from you. All of a sudden they've seen this offer from you 5-6 times. They're so much more likely to interact with your brand, with your company, with you as an agent. I think that's where you can really win. So there's a lot, I think, to be said about this. Also, I appreciate the comment, Kathy. Christian did just do a really great job getting into deeper detail on this exact topic in the university. So if you guys are already a university member, head over to sevenfigureuniversity.com or sign up at sevenfigureu.com, sevenfigureu.com. Hundreds of training videos over there. If you're not already involved, do it. But final thoughts, guys, I think be patient when you're trying to figure this stuff out, even though it's gotten a lot easier in a lot of ways, like Christian and I have talked about today. I think it can still take some time to figure out your strategy to really hone in on your target demo. I would at least probably run, if you're brand new to this or you're brand new to what you're trying to do, as far as like a new type of ad, like I would run